Welcome to the shit show. Alright, so what I want to talk about here is the Rise of Skywalker. Surprise. You know, it's like they put this big heaping pile, this big burning heap of turd on your doorstep. And I am in China right now, and they have a saying over here. The saying is, it goes like this, it goes, ding dong. Ding dong, come on out here and see what's on your doorstep, right? That's what it means in Chinese. Chinese, the saying is ding dong, right? And what that means is come on out here and look what's on your doorstep, you know? And, here's old Rise of Skywalker, a little burning little baggie of turds for us all kind of take and gaze upon, figure out what you're gonna do with it. Anyway, I'd like to talk a little bit about this film. I am in China, like I said, and they might say China, Star Wars has flopped in China, but the honest to God truth of that is that China has flopped in Star Wars, basically. And that is just a sort of the political sort of agendas that sort of seem to be convoluting this. You know, Star Wars was just a little bit of a film. It was just an homage to the B films of the day. Back there in the 1950s, you had all your B films of monsters and aliens and all that. And George Lucas just kind of thought, you know what? I loved them as a kid, and I love my hot rods, and I love them films, and I'm gonna make them better. You know, I'm gonna update them, and that's what he did. And you see that in that cantina scene where he just kind of collected up all them old costumes and said, you know, what about put them in a bar? You know, that'd be funny. And kind of the moms and dads that grew up on them B films, they thought it was funny too, and their kids kind of connected with it, you know. So he was smart enough to take that Western myth, you know. He didn't really have a story, so he just kind of said, what's the heart of all stories? You know, what's the most basic story I can tell? The hero's journey. And it caught on, you know, but it was just a farm boy story. That was his story. It ended in 1983 with Return of the Jedi, you know, and Lucas was smart back then. He said, I'm not going to do any more of this. I don't need to, you know. And I never figured out what dragged him back in, you know. It never made no sense that he was like suddenly going to make, no, this is going to be about Darth Vader's story now. And now it's about who God knows who knows story. It's about the Emperor overall. It was all supposed to be about the Emperor. I don't know. It never was any of that to me. You know, it makes no sense. So we get these films with Disney here, and yeah, you know, I just look at it. J.J. Abrams just wants to be Spielberg. You know, that's what it's about for him. He wants to be Spielberg. He wants to be a Lucas. You know, he wants to be that kind of legendary filmmaker. But it's a different time. You know, it's a different time, and the opportunity is different. You know, so what they end up doing is just kind of putting them. You know, he's like a tribute. You know, like he's wearing a costume. You know. And so that's what he was in it for, in my opinion. And then Rian Johnson's just in it to like attack the audience. You know, he had a grudge, you know, with the audiences. So he's just going at the audience, his entry. And then, you know, bring JJ back and put another notch on his belt, because that's what he's about. He just wants to be that Jordan. And you see in that Amazon special outlook where they kind of cross-cut him. They took George Lucas right on out of it. You know, this is cross-cut J.J. Abrams literally making Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. It's just him in that footage, you know, like, he didn't make those films. What is wrong? Revisionary garbage. So, anyway, let's talk about the film. And, you know, the Emperor does not need to be in this. What they should have done was made this like an expanded, it would have been a great, maybe expanded universe entry. In some corner of the universe, there'd be you know, this years after Skywalker, maybe they talk about it in the distance, or maybe there's a little slight references to it, you know. But there's a tauntaun, it's in the universe, there's a tauntaun or something like that, you know. Nah. Rey is just this kind of mysterious person growing up on a planet, and Kylo Ren, and there's a Snoke, a Sith Lord somewhere came, you know. They could have ran with that. You don't even need to bring in the idea of Solo or any of that, you know. You just make it an expanded universe, new characters, you know. I don't know why they didn't do that. They just wanted to kind of milk off. They wanted to ruin it. They wanted to ruin the old stuff for some godforsaken reason. Spidey little mighty. The mighty little Spideys, you know. Anyway, so you get the Emperor in here and it makes no sense. He does not belong in this film. There's no sense of him being. They don't even bother to explain it. They just needed something, you know. And the worst part about it, it takes away like the arc of Kylo. He's not an adult. He's still not an adult, you know. He's still not out there trying to be the most part. He's still under somebody's wing, you know. And it's just, this doesn't make any sense to me for this character, you know. But I will give Adam Driver credit for doing what he could with it. I thought he was pretty, he was trying there. I could see he was trying to inject there some kind of authenticity into the role. And you get Rey, who's you know, just some kind of power. She's a queen bee at this point. You know, there's just no style. She's Superman. You know, she's the Ubermensch. She's untouchable. You know, she's just like, you could put her into anything and she would win. You know, she'd be indestructible. And she needs to be a little more vulnerable to be believable here. Unless, like I said, and there's just nothing, she doesn't develop into anything interesting. Starts it off with this little Rolling Stone Rey there, you know, in her training. I didn't mind the training so much. I thought that was, you know, at that point in the film, I was like, all right, so maybe, you know, maybe they got something that I'm gonna sort of follow along here with, you know. But it just kind of, the breakneck speed of this film is out of control, you know, out of control fast. You know, it was like, the thing about it is like, in the original, you know, they were being resourceful. Maybe you had 2 shots, you know, something, you know, and you were in the editing room and you were putting this film together. You didn't go back and reshoot in Tunisia or anything like that. You maybe had 2 shots. You know, and so this kind of works with this. Do I have any shots of that? Oh, I got this shot here. Let's put that there. Next, does it work? Does it work? You know, you had that sense about filmmaking about it, you know, in the originals. And that's really kind of the joy of filmmaking, is really that sort of ability to say, you know, combine things and move them around and working with what you got, you know. And this film just didn't have that. You know, it had everything it needed, you know, which is weird. You know, it had everything it needed. And they had maybe about 30 million shots, you know, of any different sort of combinations they could do. And they found themselves saying, I can only use 2, you know, and I got to explain this somehow. Shot 1, shot 2, move on to the next. Explain that. Shot 1, shot 2, explain that. And these shots are like $1 million shots, you know. These are like highly sort of produced shots, you know, and not just kind of like, maybe I got something, you know. That was kind of sad, because it just moved on at its pace that was just there was just no contemplation. There was no time to kind of think about anything, you know. Like they could have moved out a lot of things here and just given these people a chance to sit down and talk to each other, you know. And there were moments that really worked, you know, like the Han and Ben movement. I was like, this is what the Star Wars sequel should have been, you know. They should have been talking about Vader. You should have had Han talking about Leia with his son, you know. You should have had these moments where you're building a character, building that relationship. There had to be a connection, and there never was any connection here between Kylo and his parents. There never was any connection here, you know. You could have had him, like Luke never talked about Vader to Kylo Ren, you know. these are missing scenes that needed to be there to give the original characters something meaningful to do, you know, and the new characters some sort of meaning, you know, in their own sort of role, in their own sort of story, and they didn't want to honor that. They didn't want to sort of invest in that for some reason. It makes no sense. But that was, to me, that was a good moment, you know, like seeing Han. He actually was kind of talking to son, you know. You could feel, wow, there should have been more of this. You know? Didn't get it. And another moment, I kind of like the jetpack thing. I know a lot of people, they fly now, you know. I thought that was kind of cool on J.J. Abrams because it kind of referenced that video game thing, and that was always cool when the jetpack guys got hit and they did. It was kind of cool to see it. I actually liked that sequence a little bit. But Chewbacca was just, Chewbacca's costume looked weird. It looked like that mask of that woman with the Chewbacca mask, you know, in her car. It looked cheap. It looked really cheap. You know, it looked really cheap and fake, you know. I don't know how they made the original look so good, but this one looked like manicured and like, I don't know, it just did not look, the coloring on it was just way too bright and stood out to me. You know, like he hadn't aged a day, Chewbacca, you know. And let me check my notes here. What do we do? Let's go through it here. It was good seeing C-3PO, but he finally gave him something to do and gave him a little bit of a send-off. Once again, they kind of, they nullified anything that was significantly done to the character. They just kind of, I'm glad they cut out the red eyes too. Like that was sort of going to be the red arm, you know, and they cut that all out. I liked Babu Frick. That was kind of an interesting little thing. Maybe he's like Baby Yoda's parents or something, but he was an interesting little invention. Oh, and then there's the oh God, I got so much written down here. Found footage Leia? No. Found footage Leia, she was deader than a doorknob, you know. It just felt so wrong, you know. They were trying to, they took her performance just off of the floor, you know, in the editing bins and said, oh, man, there's her performance, you know. A little bit disrespectful in that, you know, a little bit disrespectful. Just kind of found footage her like that and just kind of, you know, standing from the back, trying to make her patch together a story or something. I don't like how they do that self-reverential stuff in these films, you know, where you get, you know, oh, you're Lando Calrissian, which is more like, you know, meeting Billy D. Williams. Oh, you're Billy D. Williams, you know, as an actor. Like, put that off screen, you know, but let these characters live in their stories as characters where they're just like, okay, we have to do this, you know, no time for, oh, wow, you're a big deal, you know. It shouldn't be in there. Rose and Finn. Yeah, Rose and Finn, okay, yeah, sure, you got the black guy's got to be a stud now and all, in today's current political climate in Hollywood, every black guy has to be the stud, you know, so he's just kind of, you know, he's just a stud, all the girls want him, you know, but he wants this one girl. I don't know, man. Why? I don't know why, because slavery, you know, are you serious? What else? It did look good, like I said, though. It did look a lot like Star Trek Into Darkness, you know. It just kind of same shots and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, the Ilian Elmar. The Ramadan sequence there out in the desert. You got Ilian Armar. What was kind of funny is they had them all, I don't know, they had burqas on, so I was assuming they were kind of riffing on Muslim cultures. And but all the babies were like little piggies, so I don't know. That was kind of like the Asian woman and the black guy kind of insult. culturally sensitivity. It's a little bit ballsy though, you know. And I did not like Chewie's reaction to Leia's death. I was always in the impression, like when Chewie and the door was closing there on Hoth, so far long ago, he just kind of, you know, hung his head. And that is my impression of him mourning for Leia's death, you know, really hitting him. He just would kind of take it. He wouldn't go ape shit, you know. He wouldn't just kind of throw his arm and jump on the ground. Blah. I thought he'd just be like kind of a silent moment where he would have to kind of be by himself and figure out what the gravity of the situation was. The Force is absolutely crazy now. It absolutely makes no sense. It's just this odd. The whole point of like the light side was that you had to be modest in your powers, and the dark side was kind of the crazy, unnatural, in the resurrection and all that. And here it didn't matter one side or the other to the extent that you used the Force. You know, like she's bringing back dead things, and the Emperor is like tearing apart the universe, you know, tearing apart the skies and ships and stuff, and she's healing, bringing things back, resurrection, and the Force is out of control. I remember when like Yoda just lifting the ship was a real strain, you know, that was a big, lifting rocks was a cool, you know, it was like using the Force to the extent that a Jedi would be able to use that power. But now it's just this crazy where you can teleport, you can pull things out. It just kind of makes the Force this can do anything kind of thing. It's insane now. Luke doesn't need to be in this film whatsoever, and he doesn't seem to want to be in there. And he kind of looked like an old 60s hippie too, you know, like this kind of weird kind of rock star haircut that kind of, I was like, he doesn't even really look like he did in The Last Jedi. He looks kind of more hip or like he did not want to be there, and he could have cut that all out and just give us a shot of them traveling and talking about something, you know, this Finn and Poe. Poe was, now they're trying to make him like Han Solo. He's a spice smuggler. He has this whole history that we knew not. Why couldn't you just make him an honest cadet, you know, like Wedge Antilles, you know? He was just a really good pilot, and, you know, give us that story, you know? He grew up a normal life and just really wanted, you know, he could bend Biggs or something like that, you know? But no, they had to like, no, he's got to be like Han Solo, you know? Everybody, if you're a good pilot, you got to be like Han Solo. Yeah, Bulbasaur, right? Knights are in, utter, you know, why are they there? You know, they just kind of pop in. It did look like a Backstreet Boy. I remember somebody talked about it. It looked like a Backstreet Boy shot. They did, where they do that sweeping sort of aerial shot of them on that plateau. I was like, this is a Backstreet Boys video. They're right on that. I don't know. I guess that's about all I got written down here. Let's see that. Leia and Chewie and R2. Oh yeah, Dio. Dio was like they're like. You know, like when you've never been around kids and or babies and something, so you just kind of grab a stuffed animal and you go, yeah, you stop crying, baby. You know, that's what they do now, you know, with Star Wars. They're just like, oh, here's a pork. Oh, look at it, it's so cute. Oh, here. And you're like, oh. Or like, you know, here's Dio. Oh, it's so cute. Oh. You know, it's just, come on, man. Don't you, we ain't seen enough. Like, Ewoks were in this for about 2 shots. Why? You know, just to give us a 2-shot. That shot probably cost $1 million or something put together. Here you go. Put it in there. Make sure it's in there. We got 2 hours. Oh, you know, like when Kylo Ren dies, you know, that he was like retarded. You know, he was like a retarded boy. He gets a retarded smile. Like, I kissed a girl. I kissed a girl. I can die now. I was like, oh my God, that's it? You kissed her and you're gonna die now. All right, bye-bye. And yeah, you know, that was silly when he smiled. I was just like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And how they just kind of threw him off. That was also, you're the last Skywalker. You know, he couldn't, I'm just going to chuck you. Just chuck, get out of here. I'll be back, I'm coming back. Yes. I'll be back. Yes. You get out of here now. I'm coming back. Like some guy got thrown out of a bar. And you hear him outside yell, I'm coming back inside. Get the hell out of here. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about here. So, the Rise of Skywalker, I don't know. I'm glad I didn't spend no money on it. Like I said, The Last Jedi was a sucker punch. I ain't want getting sucker punched again. You ain't getting my money for this kind of nonsense. You should have made it expanded universe. Leave the Skywalkers out of it. If you're gonna do it, make it their story. You know. That's all. Thanks for watching the shit show. Until the next time, we hope you dine well. We hope you dine well in the future. Have a good one.
What a piece of junk!